Hello guys, you're on the Stolen Audio Diaries. Subscribe and like.
I always thought the betrayal would come quietly, like in the movies. Some hushed argument behind closed doors, a suspicious text message late at night, maybe a crumpled hotel receipt in a coat pocket. I never imagined it would happen in a room full of people, under gallery lights, while jazz played softly over the speakers and wine glasses clinked politely in the background. But that's exactly how it happened. It was the museum's annual winter gala, Jenna's favorite event of the year. And honestly, I used to love it too. She always lit up at these things, walking the marble floors like she owned them, weaving between donors and curators with a practiced elegance that made me proud just to be the guy on her arm. At least I used to be. This year felt different from the second we arrived. She barely acknowledged me as we checked in. No smile, no hand squeeze, no whispered, "We'll sneak away early," like she used to. She floated away into the crowd the moment we entered, already mid-conversation before I even had my coat off. I figured she was just busy. It was her world, after all. I grabbed a drink and started making the rounds. Smiled, nodded, shook hands. Tried to play the part of the supportive husband, even as something in my chest started to tighten. Then I saw them. At the far end of the gallery, in front of a massive abstract sculpture I didn't even pretend to understand. She stood shoulder to shoulder with Trevor. The smug bastard was wearing his usual too-tight blazer, holding a glass of red wine like it was part of his personal brand. His hand was on her back, low. Too low. She wasn't shrugging it off. In fact, she was leaning in, laughing at something he said, her fingertips brushing his lapel like she was tracing the thread count. And in that moment, it hit me. She looked at him the way she used to look at me. I stood there frozen, surrounded by strangers pretending not to watch, trying to figure out if I was losing my mind. Maybe it was innocent. Maybe I was overreacting. Then Trevor looked up, spotted me, and gave me this cocky nod, like I was interrupting his night. And then he said it. Real men know how to share. It wasn't loud, but it was loud enough. Loud enough that the group around them heard. Loud enough that they laughed. Jenna laughed too. Nervous at first, but then she went all in. "Mark," she called out, flashing that rehearsed smile. "You've always been so chill. Don't be tense." Like I was the joke. Like I was the one embarrassing myself. The laughter was casual, half-hearted, the kind that people do when they don't want to be involved but also don't want to be the one who didn't laugh. That fake, high-society chuckle that makes you feel lonelier than silence ever could. I started walking toward them. I didn't rush. I didn't storm across the room. I just took slow, deliberate steps, one hand still holding my drink, the other tucked into my jacket pocket. I could feel eyes turning toward me. Some curious, some concerned, most just waiting to see what kind of scene I was going to cause. But I didn't give them one. I stopped a foot from Trevor, leaned in real close, and whispered 5 words into his ear. Just 5. I won't repeat them here, but they weren't threats. They were facts, personal, surgical facts I knew would rattle him to the bone. Things I had no business knowing. Things I had quietly kept to myself for months, just in case. His smile cracked. He jerked back like I'd slapped him. His face went pale, his jaw clenched, and his hand dropped from Jenna's back like it had been burned. The blood drained from his face so fast I thought he might pass out. And then the silence hit. You could hear the band change songs in the next room. You could hear the soft chime of someone setting a glass down too hard on a tray. The laughter stopped mid-breath, like everyone collectively realized they had just backed the wrong horse. I turned to Jenna. She looked stunned. Her smile faltered, eyes darting between Trevor and me, as if she wasn't sure whose side she was supposed to be on anymore. For the first time in our marriage, she looked small to me. Not because she was caught or ashamed, but because she wasn't. Because it took that much to make her blink. Because whatever this was between her and Trevor had grown bold enough, public enough, real enough that she didn't even try to lie about it. She didn't say a word. She didn't have to. The damage was already done. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't throw a drink or demand an explanation. I didn't need to. The silence spoke louder than anything I could have said. I turned and walked away. Just like that. Let her explain that to the donors. Let Trevor try to patch that smug mask back onto his face. Let them both sit in the silence they created. The drive home that night felt like being underwater. I barely remember the lights, the turns, the silence in the car. Jenna sat next to me in the passenger seat, stiff and wordless, like a stranger hitching a ride home from the wreckage. She didn't try to speak, and I didn't ask her to. What could she say that wouldn't make it worse? I gripped the steering wheel tighter with every mile. My knuckles were white by the time we hit the freeway, but my mind wasn't racing. It was sharp, cold even. Somewhere between the museum and our front porch, something clicked. A switch flipped. The humiliation didn't sting anymore. It calcified, hardened into something more useful. This wasn't some clumsy, heat-of-the-moment mistake. It wasn't two people caught up in the fog of flirting. No, this was deliberate, brazen, staged. Jenna didn't just cheat on me. She paraded it. She wanted me to see it, to feel it. And that realization, it did something to me. I didn't yell when we got home, didn't accuse. I opened the door, hung up my coat, and walked into the kitchen like it was any other night. Jenna followed behind slowly, hesitant, watching me like I might explode. I didn't. She stood in the doorway like she wanted to say something. Some version of "it's not what it looks like," or "I had too much wine," or "he's just a friend." But the words never came. She knew they'd fall flat. And maybe that scared her more than anything. I poured a glass of water, downed it, and said the only thing I had the energy to say. "I'm going to bed." That was it. No accusations. No fights. No drama. Let her sit with the silence. Let her wonder what was coming. Because the truth? I wasn't angry anymore. I was calculating. The second I got upstairs, I locked the bedroom door, pulled out my phone, and started the process. First, I connected it to the car's Bluetooth and accessed the diagnostic system, something I tinkered with months ago when I swapped in a new stereo. Then I loaded up the app I'd been saving for emergencies. A little piece of software a buddy at work had shown me over beers one night, meant for parental control and device security, right? I installed the tracker onto Jenna's phone without needing to touch it. She had connected to the same Wi-Fi 100 times. All I needed was access to our shared network, and her phone was practically an open door. Within 5 minutes, I had everything: GPS, app activity, even message metadata. I wasn't trying to hack her. I was done guessing. I just needed to know, and she would never see it coming. I stared at the screen for a long time after I set it up, watching the blue that represented her phone pulsing softly on the map. It didn't move that night. She never left the house. Maybe she sensed something had changed. Or maybe she really thought the worst had passed. But it hadn't. She didn't know it yet. But this wasn't about catching her anymore. That part was over. She was caught. She just didn't know how badly. Now, it was about control. I didn't want revenge. I wanted clarity. I wanted to see everything. Every lie. Every excuse before she even said it. I didn't want her confessions. I wanted the truth. Because the next time she smiled at me across a dinner table, or kissed my cheek before work, or said, "I love you," in passing, I wanted to know exactly how fake it was. And when the moment came, when I finally walked, I wanted to do it with every card in my hand. No outbursts, no guessing, no second chances, just quiet, surgical precision. So I waited, and watched, and when the tracker pinged the first alert, just after midnight, not long after I shut my eyes, it was like the first crack of daylight after a long, stormy night. She wasn't where she said she'd be. She had taken a turn off the main road, and I just stared at the screen, not surprised, just ready. The blue dot turned left off the highway just after 12:17 a.m. I watched from bed, barely breathing, the glow of the phone screen lighting the dark room like a spotlight. Jenna had said she was tired, too much socializing, too much wine. She kissed me on the cheek and mumbled something about crashing early. I said goodnight and she headed down the hall. I waited 20 minutes before opening the app. At first, the signal didn't move. Just sat there in the neighborhood like she was home, maybe brushing her teeth, maybe double-checking her lies. But then it shifted. A slow crawl down the street, south, then a hard turn east, not toward the office. Not toward any gym, coffee shop, or friend's place. Pinged again near the coast. A quiet stretch of town where people went to disappear. 20 minutes from home. I zoomed in. A boutique hotel, tucked between a private marina and an upscale tapas bar. One of those places with mood lighting in the lobby and no paper trail at the desk. Jenna had told me about it once. Said it was where she'd hosted a post-gallery meet and greet years ago. A sponsor wanted something discreet, she'd said. Right, discreet. I stared at the address until it blurred. My heart wasn't racing. I didn't feel sick. I just felt heavy, like the weight of what I already knew had finally settled fully into place. She was cheating. Not maybe, not possibly, not some half-baked suspicion I could explain away. No, this was it. And she hadn't just betrayed me. She'd made it look easy. The next morning, she walked into the kitchen like nothing happened. Hair up in a messy bun, oversized sweatshirt. Her voice had that artificial lilt to it, the one she used when she was overcompensating. She brewed coffee, cracked eggs into a pan, and made a lazy joke about Trevor, as if the night before hadn't happened. God, wasn't he insufferable? She said, laughing lightly. I swear, he thinks he's some kind of art world god. Did you see him schmoozing the board chair? Barf. I nodded, took a sip of my coffee, watched her move. She didn't ask me what I thought of the party. She didn't mention our ride home in silence. She didn't ask if I was okay. She just acted. And that's what hit me hardest. She'd rehearsed this, probably 100 times. Practiced her morning after lines like a stage monologue, right down to the breezy tone and casual pacing. She had an entire playbook for living a double life. That's when I noticed it, her purse. She had tossed it on the kitchen bench like always, half unzipped, lip gloss sticking out the top. She left the room for a second, some excuse about laundry. I stood up, walked over, and reached inside. Phone, keys, wallet, and something else. Another phone, an older iPhone, scratched around the edges. No case. Low battery warning flashing across the screen. And locked, of course, for digits away from the truth. I didn't need the passcode. Not yet. The second I held it in my hand, the final piece clicked into place. This wasn't impulsive. It wasn't some accidental affair she was wrestling with in secret. This was structure, intent, a whole compartmentalized second life managed down to the details. And the worst part? She was good at it. Calm, polished, efficient. I wouldn't have found that burner if she hadn't gotten careless. She didn't see me tuck it into my back pocket. She didn't notice when I told her I was stepping out for a quick errand. I drove 2 blocks away, parked, and popped open the glove box where I kept an old prepaid charger. Plugged it in. Let the phone power up, slow and stubborn. The lock screen flashed on. 147 unread messages. I didn't try to guess the code. I wasn't in a rush. There were tools for this, ones I could use when I needed to. What mattered most was that the illusion was gone. No more pretending. No more giving her the benefit of the doubt. From here on out, I wasn't looking for proof. I had it. What I was looking for was the right ending. And she wouldn't see that coming. Not after all her practiced charm and polished lies. Not with her morning after breakfasts and fake, casual laughter. She thought she was in control. Thought she could outmaneuver the chill husband. But she didn't know me as well as she thought. She had played the game so long. She forgot the one rule that matters most. When you cheat, you're not the only one making moves. I could have blown it all up that morning. Could have slammed the burner phone down on the table and watched the mask slip. But no, this wasn't about drama anymore. It was about the long game, and I was done playing blind. The next morning, Jenna said she was going for a run with the girls. She said it like it was routine, like I wasn't already piecing together the web of lies she spun daily without flinching. She tied her shoes, kissed my cheek, and jogged down the steps in her usual neon hoodie and tights. I watched her from the window, arms folded, and waited. 10 minutes later, her phone's GPS told a different story. Not the park. Not the trailhead. She was heading back to the same boutique hotel. And that was it for me, no more passive watching. I grabbed a black hoodie, threw on a baseball cap, and stuffed the burner phone in my pocket. Parked a few blocks away from the hotel like I was just another delivery guy *ling time between stops. No sudden movements. No confrontation. Just observation. It was overcast. A little foggy off the water. I could see the reflection of Jenna's SUV in the glass door as she pulled in and parked. She got out slowly, checking her hair in the side mirror, then flipping it the way she always did when she wanted to feel seen. I started recording. She didn't know I was there. Of course she didn't. I was the chill husband, the forgettable one, the background character she thought wouldn't notice her scene change. She walked across the lot, pulled her hood back, and smoothed out her ponytail before stepping inside. 3 minutes later, Trevor showed up. Ball cap, sunglasses, hoodie zipped all the way up. Like he'd studied the how to sneak into a hotel like a side piece lookbook. I filmed him too. He didn't knock. He didn't hesitate. He walked around the side entrance like it was familiar territory. Routine. I repositioned across the street, filming from behind a dumpster. A little sketchy, maybe, but no one was paying attention to some guy on his phone. Everyone was too busy scrolling through their own disasters. Trevor entered through the side. No keycard. Just a buzz from the clerk inside. Someone had already prepped that door for him. I waited another 10 minutes. Then I walked into the lobby. The front desk clerk didn't even blink when I said I had a delivery for room 214. She just pointed down the hall and went back to her screen. That room number, 214, seared itself into my mind. I didn't need to knock. Not yet. That wasn't the play. I snapped a quick picture of the plaque on the door, turned around, and walked back out as casually as I came in. Once I got back to the car, I uploaded everything to a hidden folder on a cloud drive. Dated, labeled, backed up. This wasn't just about catching her anymore. This was about building the record. Establishing a timeline, pattern. 2 visits to the same hotel in under 48 hours. Both coordinated. Both under a lie. I opened the burner phone again, and this time I decided to see how far I could push it. I pulled out my old laptop, the one I used for freelance gigs, and booted up a program a buddy in cybersecurity had given me years ago. Something he said could peek through most locks if you're patient. 3 attempts. Then the phone opened. She used the same passcode she'd used on her old iPad. I had fixed that thing for her once, when she forgot the code on vacation. I remembered it. She didn't think I would. Inside the phone? Texts, photos, voice memos. Some of it was tame. Flirtation. Stupid nicknames. Can't wait to see you again type stuff. But the deeper I scrolled, the colder I felt. She had an entire parallel relationship tucked inside that phone. There were messages about when I'd be out of the house. *TS of my calendar. Comments about how I never noticed anything anyway. Plans. Reservations. Inside jokes. Playlist called Secret Nights. One picture made my stomach turn. It was taken from our bedroom. Same sheets. Same headboard. But I wasn't in it. Trevor was. The caption? Risky, but worth it. I don't even remember closing the laptop. My body just moved on its own. I sat there in the front seat of my car, the cold vinyl pressing into my back, and I just stared out the windshield. It didn't feel like heartbreak. Felt like theft. She had stolen everything. My trust. My time. My peace of mind. She had staged a betrayal so rehearsed, so airtight, that I almost applauded the audacity of it. Almost. But applause wasn't coming. Just silence. And a plan. I didn't storm home. I didn't crash the hotel room. That wasn't the point. This wasn't about emotion anymore. This was about the facts. Because people like Jenna and Trevor, they live off deniability. Off gray areas. It's not what it looks like. We only talked. You're overreacting. But a camera doesn't lie. A GPS history doesn't stutter. A hotel clerk who took a cash tip has no loyalty. I was building something airtight, something that couldn't be spun into a misunderstanding. And when I was done, when every piece was documented, every timestamp lined up, and every lie cataloged, I'd let it all speak for itself. No yelling, no begging, just truth, delivered clean. I didn't rush it. I let a day pass, let Jenna settle back into the lie, let her send a few more texts, crack a few more jokes, hum through the house like everything was fine. That's how she operated. Routine was her shield. As long as she kept things normal, she thought she could outrun the truth. But I already knew. She wasn't trying to save the marriage. She was trying to manage it like a damaged brand. Smile, play nice, delay the inevitable. But she forgot one thing. I wasn't playing defense anymore. The day I confronted them, I started it like any other. Woke up early, made coffee, answered work emails. She came into the kitchen, hair damp from the shower, in a robe I bought her 2 birthdays ago. She kissed my cheek and told me she was going to meet the girls for brunch. Might run errands after, she added, like she was doing me a favor. I nodded. Drive safe. She smiled. Genuinely. She really thought I was buying it again. An hour later, her phone pinged. Same hotel. Same room. I sat in my car around the corner, waiting for them to settle in. Let them believe the lie had legs for 1 more hour. Then I walked in. No disguise. No hat. No hoodie. Just me. Plain and calm, like I had every right to be there. Because I did. The clerk didn't even look up. I knew the route by now. Left hall. Past the ice machine. Second door from the end. Room 214. I knocked once. A pause. Then a shuffle of movement behind the door. I heard whispering. Then the knob turned. The door creaked open. Jenna stood there, barefoot, no makeup, hair pulled back. Her face froze the second she saw me. Behind her, Trevor hovered, halfway through pulling on a wrinkled button-down. His hair was a mess. His eyes darted between me and the door like he was calculating whether to run or talk. I didn't move. I didn't shout. I just reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and hit play. The audio filled the room. Jenna's voice from a saved voicemail, laughing as she told Trevor. He never suspects a thing. It's almost sad. Then came a screen recording of the texts. The hotel footage. Still photos. Proof. Not questions. Trevor paled. Jenna's breath caught in her throat. She stepped forward. Mark, wait. I can explain. No, I said, holding the phone steady between us. You can't. She looked like she was caught in a rip current, flailing between tactics. First came the soft, trembling voice. It's not what you think. Then came the tears. Then the switch, anger. Accusations. You violated my privacy. You've been spying on me? I didn't say a word. I just let the footage run. One clip after another. A silent prosecutor stacking charges in the air between us. Jesus, Trevor muttered under his breath, rubbing his temple. This is insane. I finally looked at him. Insane would have been trusting either of you a minute longer. He went quiet. Jenna tried again. Mark, I didn't plan this. It just happened. I was lonely. You were distant. We were struggling. Stop. I said it flatly. Calm. No heat. She froze. You don't get to spin this, I continued. Not here. Not now. I gave you time. I gave you chances. You used every single one to lie to my face. She looked stunned, like she genuinely didn't expect me to be this composed. That's what scared her most, I think. Not my anger, but my silence. I tucked the phone back into my pocket. 3 words. That's all I gave her. We're done. Then I turned around and walked away. No yelling. No slammed doors. Just the echo of my footsteps in that hallway. Behind me, I heard her call my name once. Soft. Not frantic. Like she couldn't decide which version of me she needed to appeal to anymore. I didn't stop. Didn't even flinch. Let her feel the silence. Let her feel how cold it gets when the game ends and no one's left to lie to. Outside, the sun had started to set, streaking the sky in orange and gray. I got into my car, closed the door, and just sat there for a minute. breathing, not crying, not raging, just still, for the first time in months. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't hurt anymore. I was free.
Bye bye guys, thank you for watching.